So talking about trust in the last episode is one of the essentials for the group. And I think that's vital because I think a lack of trust could really kill a group, right? If you violate that trust, or, we use Marco Polo pretty frequently, and hey, guess what I heard today from so-and-so, or guess what somebody's going through. And, just to, when you think about that, having to be vulnerable and share that stuff with other guys, on the flip side of that, there's also that component of, man, if I violate this trust, that could really kind of
For sure.
kill the entire group, and you could really lose that thing that you have that you look forward to every day.
Yeah. I think definitely it becoming a place of gossip is easy for that to kill a group, of being a place of like saying, hey, did you hear this? And then like now you're just spreading stuff around. I think what's important for us is when we have something confidential that we're about to say, we have this phrase of like, hey, 5-second rule, which means because of Marco Polo, it plays, unless you got headphones in, it'll play it out loud. And if you're riding with somebody and you don't want other people to hear, we just have this phrase that's, again, organically come around. Hey man, 5-second rule. And that lets the other people know, stop this, wait until I'm in a private place, and then hit play again so that I can hear that. So that way.
To be fair, that's mostly for you though, because all of us, we
listen to it by ourselves.
We listen to it by ourselves in the closet with the door closed.
You're the only one who's you're the only one in Walmart.
The only one who hears it is my, not me. That's Cam. The only one who hears that stuff is the dog.
Whatever.
Birdie.
So I would say back to what the question that you asked was, lack of confidentiality, gossip would definitely be one way that this would go.
I'd like to interject for me, because we've all been in groups of some sort. Maybe we wouldn't call them discipleship groups, but we all have friends, right? We've been in friend groups and all that. I think what would kill this group for me is if it morphed into or became a place where it was just somewhere to air your dirty laundry. It was just negative, right?
Yeah.
And we were just feeding off of each other, and nobody at any point stood up and said, wait. That doesn't sound right. That's not my experience, because this has been said, right?
Yeah,
I remember this phrase. Yeah. That's not my experience. Not that yours isn't valid, but just let's make sure we know that that's not the only experience, right? That there's another experience. So I think for me, it would kill the group if all of a sudden we all thought the same way, had the same perspective, and it was just negative.
Yeah.
And I would say this at that point, it's no longer helpful.
Yeah.
It's not good for me, like this group is.
Yeah.
I think Marco Polo quit. We'd have trouble. Know what to do.
It's coming, Cam. It's coming. It's coming.
Not a sponsor, right? Not even helpful. Anyway, I don't know. I mean, I think what y'all said is the right thing. I mean, I think also lack of transparency. If for whatever reason we began to notice, well, we're not sharing, or one of us isn't sharing. In fact, I mean, all four of us in different places say, I need to get serious about these things. So it's helpful. So it's really balanced out in that way. And I think it's extremely helpful. And I think that's one of the reasons it's valuable to me. I mean, I talked about the one time where it turned for me. That was a moment in time where I desperately needed people to talk with. And I, of course, talk with Paula and can share anything with her. But I don't want to overburden her as well, because we're in the middle of it together. And I just need to share it with guys. And I tell you, to not have this group, if it went away, I'd really be missing that.
Have you ever thought about like what would happen if this group went away? What would be different in your life? Like for me, I know there's two primary things that I look for out of this group. Number one is just to be an outlet, right? But then number two is just to continue to push me to grow as a person, but also spiritually. Those have been really driving and motivating forces for me. So, on the flip side of everything I get from it, if it went away, like that would be, I want to say detrimental. I don't want to be dramatic, but, that would be a huge loss for me personally in my life.
I think I would lose a different perspective, an ironing of a sharpening iron for me, for sure. Because like you said earlier, John, it's always there, the temptation for it to become, it can, if you don't watch it, it could easily become an echo chamber where you're just throwing in garbage and you're just hearing garbage back about life, about all these things. But when you speak something out there and other people say, that is not my experience, or have you thought about looking at this a different way, or they're pointing to a bigger picture. I think that's something that has been massively helpful in my life. And if that wasn't there, I'm afraid of what I would become, of just somebody who becomes negative and only looks at things one myopic way.
Before this group, before recognizing the value of it, if it went away or thinking about it, I'd think, so what? Because I don't know that I need something until I'm part of something going, this is really helpful and really big. And while as a guy, I'm like, I don't really need anything, whatever else. I did so much more than I realized. Again, we're used to transferring. We're used to moving. And when you move, you find another group. You do whatever, you another group of guys, whatever else. So to have something that's consistent and steady and discovering the depth that can come from that and the life that it brings to me is huge. So yeah, I really think something would be terribly lost. In fact, if any one of you were gone for whatever reason, said I'm out or I can't do this, whatever else, I don't know. I can't do this group anymore for whatever reason. Tired of listening to you, Cam. It would be a huge loss. It'd be like something's really, really, really missing, and it'd be, I think, tragic to use that word.
When I thought through what would you lose, one thing came to my mind, and it happened rather recently, and it was a comment from Cam because we were talking about family, right? And what I like about this group is Cam has the oldest kids, right? Post college, or could be, right? Still some college opportunities there. And then me and Jeremiah, we have the youngest, right? I think you have the youngest, then Michael, and then Addison, and then your girls, Susanna and Lily. It was that comment about home base, about how you raised your family to understand that home was that place in very specific ways, right? Oh no, why it's we can cut this part as I recuperate. But I think that's something that I wouldn't have heard, and it really, even to this moment, it impacts me significantly. It's something I need to make sure that that's what Michael feels as he grows up, right?
Yeah.
So I think there are things like that, and that was just the one that immediately came to my mind that I thought, man, what we talked about, I think, on the group, like that, Cam, that's gold, right?
Yeah.
That's gold right there. We wouldn't have had that. And that's important for us as fathers to raising kids, to have somebody in the group that's at a different place, or to have folks that their kids are excelling and we can celebrate that and then hear how they're excelling and why they're excelling and the difference that that's made, so that when we also share when our kids are struggling, right? Really struggling, we can feel that as well, and we can give support. Learn from that collectively. That maybe that's it. That collective learning. I don't have to learn everything myself. Collectively, we're learning and we're sharing, and celebrating and lamenting and weeping collectively. And I would lose that.
And in a way, this has kind of become like another home base for us as well. Our group, right?
Yeah.
We've got our individual families, and Cam had a great point when we were talking about that. But also this group, to me, this is how I get kind of back to center, right? When I jump on with you guys and talk with you guys, and we're just kind of living life and interacting, that's the thing that kind of draws me back. And it's, we've talked about this, a lot, like, how do we share this with people, right? Because this group is unique.
Yeah.
But how do we share this with people? Because I know if we were looking at one time, for a group of guys that we could just sit and live life with and share with, how do we share that with other people so that they can then do something like this if it works for them,
I was telling you guys this morning the story, reminding you of the story of I was at a territorial event, an event that we put on, and we were getting all set up and the stuff. And somehow my wife made the comment about, I think I had just had a moment and I had watched Marco Polo over in one of the corners. And my wife had said, "Oh, that's Matt." To somebody else, she said, "That's Matt. He's speaking with his friends." And so this other guy came to me and was like, "Hey, can you tell me more about this this thing that you have, this group that you have. And I just gave him the 2-minute, like, oh, it's Marco Polo app, some friends. Well, we just, not as formalized as all this, but this is what we did. And to see him look at me and really, like John, you just kind of said, like, he almost had tears in his eyes. You could feel, like, what do they say? Men live lives of quiet desperation. Like, you could feel the desperation of him saying, I need something like that. And I think if we're honest, all of us do need something like this outside of family where we can just be able to be centered and stuff. And so I think, how do we feel if this group, if we went away, who are we because of this group? How many people out there are going through lives right now, desperate for something like this, but just not sure how do I get this started? How do I do this?
Well, maybe that's a good question.
Yeah.
What would we say to those who want something like this, who have heard us these few times and have said, yeah, I think that's what I need. I need something like that. What would we say to them?
Well, I think a big one you hit on in one of the previous episodes was, what is currently going on in my life? What's around me? What's available? Right? We can get so hyper-focused on the things that we need to accomplish that we can miss some of the opportunities that are around us. And it may be just, somebody that you're working with every day, like we were, and just happened to form this group. Or, maybe it's, somebody that you attend a church with, or maybe you're, whatever, if you're in ultimate frisbee and, a group of guys that you're with there, whatever it is, like, look for the things that are around you first, I would say, is one of the keys to get something like this started.
Okay.
I'd say don't aim for a home run on the first try, right? It's going to take time to build. I would say somebody's got to go first. I think you've heard me say that multiple times. And if you need to be the one to go first, to put yourself out there. And then again, don't think that you're going to we've had 7.5 years to be able to sit around and talk and laugh like this. This wasn't year one. It didn't look like this. It's taken this long for it to get here. So if you think, hey, do you want to start a discipleship group? It's going to take time to build to something.
Maybe. But also, I'll say that there's multiple ways to do this. And to have courage, because as you said, and we've all said, we needed it and either didn't know we needed it or were just relieved that somebody else asked or whatever else. But in different times in different places, several folks have either asked me, maybe they've asked you all too, can we do something together, because I need people around me. I need a discipleship group, or I need, maybe they don't say that word. Or when I've asked somebody, they've said, yes, I've been desperate for something like that. And a couple of times in the community, people I work with in the community, not Salvation Army, but and others are Salvation Army officers who either approached me, or when it took me a while, but I finally got some courage to ask them, and their response was, yeah, I need that. I thought, oh, thank goodness, I'm relieved, because I felt weird asking that. Can I just say I felt like I was asking a guy on a date? I felt like I was like, hey, do you want to get together and share thoughts? No, I do not, whatever else. But it felt weird, and to be relieved to say they need this as well. So I would say have courage knowing that we need this. I think we were created for community.
For sure.
That's an entree to John. He's going to talk about Trinity for a minute. Well, we were created for community. I mean, this is who we are before and in Christ. This is who we are. We're either desperate for or discovering that we always needed this.
I think what I would say to those who are looking at this and saying, yeah, I need something like that, I would say, take us as encouragement.
Yeah.
But not necessarily as a model.
Right.
Right. I mean, this is the way it worked out for us. And there are elements, I think, in here that are universal, but they're not the universal structure.
Right.
They're just
good.
Universal. And I think the important part, what I would say to people is look for whoever, right? There are different ways to do that, different models for that. But just start talking, right? Get in a relationship with someone and start talking and sharing to the level of trust that is there. And essential in that for us, right, was pray for each other. And if we're talking to each other about life and we're praying for each other about our lives, then I think naturally it's going to get deeper and deeper and deeper. But those two things for me is what I tell people.
That's
Start talking to somebody you trust and start praying with them, and you'll find yourself in a relationship that is life-giving and discipling you and that other person.
I think that's critical too, because one of the things we've not talked about is what curriculum we're using for this. I mean, I love kind
Marco
of beating
Polo.
that down now that I
Not a sponsor.
now that I do, is because I've discovered that it's not in curriculum that we're going to be discipled. Curriculum might give me information, but it's not going to be transformational to me. No, the idea though that that if you do this, you will. If you do these things, say these things, and build this information, you will grow. And we haven't done any of that.
No.
We've connected to one another on a personal basis, saying, "Here's what I need today," or "Let me share with this with you." And there are wonderful methods. I mean, I haven't talked about it yet. You'd be very proud of me. I haven't talked about small groups, but
You just mentioned it.
but Wesley taught us how to do things with this kind of thing, just how to ask each other questions and share each other honestly. How's your soul today? How is your walk with the Lord today? And be honest with each other and challenge each other. And that's not a curriculum base. It's just us sharing life together and walking together.
Yeah, that's been the best part for me. This is not, none of this is planned, right?
Yeah.
There's not a set program.
We have no
It's just
idea
very
what we're doing.
organic. And so that's been the great part for me. It's just kind of living life together,
I
as
just
it
want
comes.
I know we're wrapping up here. I want to say people need to understand, for our prayer going into this was that obviously we have a good time getting together, but that it would be helpful.
Yeah.
Knowing how helpful this was for us.
Yeah.
Our prayer was that this would be helpful in some way.
Yeah. That this would matter, that somebody out there is listening to this and saying, you know what? I think I can do it. I can go and talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If those guys can do it, man, I can. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Guaranteed.
For sure.
Guaranteed. We're ridiculous.